What if your belly fat has nothing to do with what you eat, but something you do every morning? Most people blame calories, workouts, or discipline, but the real trigger may begin before breakfast even starts. You wake up, follow your usual routine, and unknowingly activate a biological signal that changes everything inside. Because belly fat is not just about food, it is about how your metabolism is being instructed each day. And this is where things become uncomfortable, because your body may not be working against you at all. It may actually be following a pattern repeated every single morning without you realizing it. A pattern driven by cortisol, the hormone that controls stress, energy, and fat storage in your body. And when this signal becomes unbalanced, something subtle begins to happen deep inside your abdomen. Fat is no longer stored randomly, it starts being directed and accumulated in one specific place, which explains why so many people struggle with stubborn belly fat even when doing everything right. And the most surprising part is this entire process may begin within the first hour after you wake up. That hidden signal has a name, and it is cortisol, your body's primary stress and energy hormone. But here is the twist most people never hear. Cortisol is not supposed to make you gain belly fat. In fact, every morning your body releases cortisol to wake up your metabolism and increase energy output. This natural surge is called the cortisol awakening response, and it is designed to help you burn fuel efficiently. However, when this signal becomes amplified or prolonged, the message inside your body begins to change. Instead of supporting fat burning, cortisol slowly turns into a signal that encourages fat storage in specific areas. And not all fat behaves the same, because visceral fat inside your abdomen reacts very differently. These fat cells are highly sensitive, almost programmed to respond directly to cortisol in your bloodstream, which means your body may not be gaining fat randomly, it may be following hormonal instructions precisely. And once you understand this, a deeper question begins to form about your daily routine. Think about your typical morning. You wake up, grab your phone, and flood your brain with stimulation. Notifications, emails, and social media begin triggering stress signals before your body fully wakes up naturally. Then comes coffee within minutes, pushing cortisol levels even higher before they stabilize properly. At first, this feels normal, even productive, like you are starting your day with focus and energy. But underneath that routine, your body is receiving a very different message about stress and survival. Instead of a smooth hormonal rise and fall, cortisol stays elevated far longer than it was designed to. And this is where a silent shift begins inside your metabolism without you ever noticing it. Because what feels like a harmless habit may actually be reprogramming how your body stores fat every morning. To understand this shift, you need to look deeper at how fat actually behaves inside your body. Not all fat cells are the same, and visceral fat acts more like a sensor than simple storage. These cells contain receptors designed specifically to respond to cortisol circulating in your bloodstream. When cortisol binds to these receptors, it activates pathways that control how fat is processed and stored. One of the most important tools in this process is an enzyme called lipoprotein lipase. Think of it as a pair of molecular scissors moving through your bloodstream with precision. Fat cannot enter cells directly. It must first be broken into smaller components your body can absorb. This enzyme cuts triglycerides into fatty acids, making them small enough to slip into fat cells easily. And here is where things become more important. Cortisol increases this enzyme's activity significantly, but not everywhere equally. It amplifies this effect specifically inside visceral fat in your abdomen, which means fat circulating in your bloodstream is more likely to be redirected toward your belly. And once this redirection begins, the process becomes easier to imagine in a very specific way. It is almost like your abdomen becomes a vacuum, slowly pulling fat inward from your bloodstream. Fat is no longer stored evenly throughout your body. It is guided toward one central storage zone. Even if your weight stays relatively stable, your waistline can still expand over time. This is why many people feel confused, because they are not gaining much weight, but their belly grows. The body is not adding more fat overall. It is redistributing where that fat is being stored. This pattern is known as central adiposity, and it is strongly linked to prolonged cortisol elevation, which explains why traditional dieting often fails to fully solve stubborn belly fat problems. But here is the strange part that changes everything once you understand it clearly. Cortisol itself is not the enemy, and it was never designed to make you gain fat. In fact, it plays a critical role in helping your body wake up and use energy efficiently. Every morning, cortisol rises naturally to prepare your brain and metabolism for action. When this process works correctly, it actually supports fat burning instead of fat storage. So the real problem is not cortisol itself, but how it is being disrupted by your daily habits. Because something in your routine is quietly turning a helpful signal into a harmful one. In a healthy system, cortisol follows a precise rhythm aligned with your natural circadian cycle. It rises quickly after waking, peaks within about 30 minutes, then gradually declines over time. This acts like a biological sunrise, preparing your body for movement, focus, and energy use. During this phase, your liver releases stored glucose into the bloodstream to fuel your brain instantly. That is why you can feel alert in the morning even before eating anything at all. But when this rhythm is disrupted, everything begins to change. In a subtle but powerful way. Instead of rising and falling smoothly, cortisol stays elevated for much longer than it should, and that prolonged signal tells your body you are under constant stress. When that happens, your body shifts from using energy efficiently to storing it for survival. And this is where your metabolism quietly changes direction without you even noticing. At the same time, cortisol begins influencing your brain and the way you experience hunger. It affects regions that control appetite, motivation, and reward, shaping how you respond to food. When cortisol rises too high, it activates hunger signals that push you to seek more calories. At the same time, it weakens the signal that tells your body you are already full. So even when you have enough energy, you may still feel an urge to eat more. Meanwhile, your brain becomes more sensitive to rewarding foods under stress conditions. Sugary and high carbohydrate foods begin to feel more satisfying and harder to resist, which explains why cravings often appear in the morning, especially during stressful routines. And this is where many people blame themselves, thinking it is a lack of discipline. But in reality, your body is responding exactly as it was designed to under stress. And once you understand this, something important begins to shift in how you see your hunger. Because morning cravings are not always a true signal that your body needs energy immediately. Sometimes they are simply the echo of an exaggerated cortisol response still active in your system, which means trying to fight this feeling often leads to more imbalance instead of fixing it. Instead of suppressing cortisol, the smarter approach is learning how to guide it. Because cortisol is meant to rise briefly, then gradually fall in a natural rhythm. And your morning routine determines whether that process happens correctly or not. There are 3 simple actions that can completely change how this signal behaves each day. The first step begins the moment you wake up, and it is surprisingly simple but often ignored. Instead of jumping out of bed immediately, give your body a few minutes to transition slowly. During this time, practice slow breathing by inhaling through your nose for about 4 seconds. Then exhale gently for around 8 seconds, allowing your nervous system to calm down naturally. This signals safety to your brain and prevents an excessive cortisol spike from forming. The second step is exposing your eyes to natural morning light as early as possible. Sunlight sends a powerful signal to your brain that helps regulate your circadian rhythm. Even 10 minutes outside can stabilize cortisol and improve your metabolic efficiency throughout the day. The third step is delaying your first meal slightly, instead of eating immediately after waking. Because cortisol already releases glucose into your bloodstream, your body already has available energy. By waiting a little longer, you allow fat-burning signals to activate more effectively. And when these steps work together, your morning cortisol response becomes smoother and more controlled, which creates a completely different metabolic outcome for the rest of your day. And when this new pattern repeats over time, something begins to change inside your body. Cortisol no longer stays elevated for hours. It follows a rhythm that supports energy instead. Your metabolism shifts away from storage mode and back toward efficient energy use. Fat is no longer pulled aggressively into your abdomen, and accumulation begins to slow. Hunger becomes more stable, and those intense cravings begin to fade gradually. Your body starts responding differently, not because you forced it, but because you changed the signals. And over time, this creates a noticeable difference in how your energy and appetite feel daily, which reveals something powerful most people overlook when trying to lose stubborn belly fat. Because real change does not come from extreme effort, but from consistent signals repeated every morning. And once you see your body this way, everything about belly fat starts to make sense. Your body is not working against you. It is responding to signals you send every day. When those signals are chaotic and stress-driven, fat storage becomes the natural result. But when those signals become calm and controlled, your metabolism begins to respond differently. Small changes in your morning routine can create effects far greater than most people expect. And this is where real transformation begins, not with force, but with understanding. So if this changed how you see your body, stay curious, because there is always more happening beneath the surface.